You're right, games are meant to be played. So in this series, I'm attempting to 100% every game in my collection and from yours. Today, we're taking on one of the most beloved Nintendo 64 games ever made and my personal favorite, Banjo-Kazooie. What's up, Legends? 64 Hoarder here, and today we're collecting all 100 Jiggies, all 900 musical notes, every Jinjo, every honeycomb piece, and everything needed to fully complete Banjo-Kazooie. Along the way, we're going to revisit some of the greatest worlds Rare ever created, determine which level has aged the best, and answer one important question. After all these years, does Banjo-Kazooie still deserve the hype? But first, I had to survive Rusty Bucket Bay, and trust me, the engine room was not the only thing standing in my way. Also, in no way am I a speedrunner, so sit back, relax, and welcome to the 64 Lounge, where later, after we defeat Gruntilda, we're heading into my vault to look at my sealed copies of Banjo-Kazooie, which are some of my favorite pieces in my entire collection. But before we can see them, we have a bear, a bird, and an entire witch's lair to conquer. Let's get into it. For a basic 100% overview, Banjo-Kazooie contains 9 main worlds hidden throughout Gruntilda's lair. Across each world, we need to collect 10 Jiggies, one of which is obtained by collecting all 5 Jinjos in each world. On top of that, we need to collect 100 musical notes, as well as 2 extra honeycomb pieces found throughout. Across each world are also Mumbo tokens, but we only collect enough to unlock every transformation used throughout the adventure, not necessarily all of them. Lastly, there are 10 additional Jiggies found throughout the hub world, which are obtained by activating the Witch Switch in each level, as well as 6 empty honeycomb pieces found throughout Spiral Mountain. The goal wasn't just to reach Gruntilda, the goal was to leave nothing important behind. That's enough talking, let's jump into the run and start at Spiral Mountain. The adventure begins at Spiral Mountain, where we meet Banjo, Kazooie, Bottles, Tooty, and for better or worse, Gruntilda. After Grunty kidnaps Tooty and takes her back to the lair, Bottles teaches us the moves we'll need for the adventure ahead. Spiral Mountain is similar to Bomb Bomb Battlefield in Mario 64. Bottles teaches us climbing, swimming, flipping, rolling. Spiral Mountain is a simple opening area, but it does an excellent job introducing the game's personality. Banjo is relaxed, Kazooie's already insulting everyone, and basically every object is alive. After collecting the honeycomb pieces around Spiral Mountain, we entered Gruntilda's lair. This lair isn't just a hub connecting the worlds, it's practically a level of its own. New areas open as you collect Jiggies, note doors block your progress, and Gruntilda constantly interrupts the adventure to insult you. Somehow, that never gets old. After collecting our first Jiggy and completing our first world painting, we entered the very beginning of the challenge, Mumbo's Mountain. Mumbo's Mountain is Banjo-Kazooie's tutorial world, but it wastes no time establishing the formula. Explore everything, talk to everyone, and assume anything with eyes either needs your help or wants to kill you. Here, we learned Talon Trot, we met Conga, fired eggs for the first time, and encountered Mumbo Jumbo. Mumbo then transformed us into a termite, allowing us to climb the mountain and collect one of the world's final Jiggies. It's a small level, but nearly every section introduces something important. We collected all 10 Jiggies, all 100 notes, rescued the 5 Jinjos, collected the 2 extra honeycomb pieces, and cleared Mumbo's Mountain. The run was off to a clean start, but Mumbo's Mountain was only the tutorial. The next world was where Banjo-Kazooie really began showing what they could do. We opened the first musical note store, found the painting to unlock the next level, and then entered Treasure Trove Cove. Treasure Trove Cove remains one of the most recognizable levels in the entire game, and it's my personal favorite. The bright beach, the giant mountain, the lighthouse at the top, and a soundtrack that immediately sounds like childhood. This world expands in every direction, and almost every landmark contains something worth finding. We helped Captain Blubber recover his treasure, learn how to use shock jump pads, explored Nipper's shell, and began climbing towards the lighthouse. And who could forget experiencing this nightmare as a kid? Absolutely horrifying. Treasure Trove Cove also contains the sandcastle, where entering the correct word rewards you with another Jiggy. And no, we're not using the optional cheat codes. We're earning this completion the hard way. The vertical design made the world feel enormous compared to Mumbo's Mountain, and reaching the very top of the lighthouse was one of the first moments where the game truly felt like an adventure. After collecting 10 Jiggies, 100 musical notes, 5 Jinjos, and the 2 extra honeycomb pieces, we left the sunny beach behind, because the next world traded the blue ocean for dark water, and has one of the most unsettling creatures on the Nintendo 64. We headed back through Grunty's lair, found the next world painting, and entered our next level, Clanker's Cavern. Clanker's Cavern was terrifying as a kid. You swim through a dark tunnel, enter a massive industrial cave, and suddenly you see a giant mechanical shark chained underwater. That was horrifying, and that's Clanker. The first major challenge was diving to the bottom of the cavern and swimming through a key to raise him towards the surface. The controls weren't always on my side, my air supply definitely wasn't on my side, and the camera was doing what Nintendo 64 cameras do best, work against you. But after freeing Clanker, the entire level opened up. We climbed across his body, entered through his teeth, explored the inside of the mechanical beast, and completed some of the strangest challenges in the game. Clanker's Cavern is uncomfortable, creative, and completely unforgettable. Another part of this level, you learn to use golden feathers from bottles, which basically grants Banjo and Kazooie invincibility. We collected the 10 Jiggies, collected the 100 musical notes, found all 5 Jinjos, we located and hit the witch switch, and collected the 2 empty honeycomb pieces, and cleared Clanker's Cavern. Once every important collectible was secured, I was ready to get away from the water. Unfortunately, the next world was a poisonous swamp. We headed back to Grunty's lair, opened our next musical notes door, found the painting for the next world, and entered Bubblegloop Swamp. Bubblegloop Swamp introduces danger almost immediately. Most of the water damages you, the walkways are narrow, and giant piranhas are waiting for one bad jump. This is also where we learn to use the wading boots, allowing Kazooie to carry Banjo safely through dangerous terrain. Which raises another question. At this point, is Banjo helping at all? The swamp gave us one of the game's best transformations when Mumbo turned us into a crocodile. That allowed us to enter Mr. Vile's challenge, where the goal is to eat more Yumblies than he does. It sounds simple. It was not very simple. Between the time challenges, narrow platforms, and collection routes through the swamp, Bubblegloop required more precision than the earlier worlds. But we cleaned up all 10 Jiggies, collected all 100 notes, reunited the Jinjos, found the extra honeycomb pieces, cleared Bubblegloop Swamp, and moved deeper into Gruntilda's lair. Next came one of the levels I remembered most fondly. The question was whether it was as good as I remembered. Moving through the lair, we found the next painting, unlocked our next level, and entered Freezeezy Peak. Freezeezy Peak might be pure Nintendo 64 nostalgia. The snow-covered village, the giant Christmas tree, the presents, the lights, and those laughing snowmen who are somehow capable of throwing snowballs with military precision. We helped Boggy, found presents for his children, lit the Christmas tree, and took to the skies as we continued collecting everything throughout the level. But Freezeezy Peak also contains one of the game's recurring challenges, racing Boggy. Later in the run, we had to return after unlocking the turbo trainers because apparently beating a polar bear in a sled race wasn't enough. We had to humiliate him on foot too. It's interesting to note this is the only instance of backtracking in Banjo-Kazooie, unlike its sequel Banjotooie, which we'll cover in a later video. We collected the 10 Jiggies, all 100 musical notes, reunited the 5 Jinjos, located the 2 extra honeycomb pieces, hit the witch switch, and cleared Freezeezy Peak. At this point, the game was living up to my memories, but the second half of the adventure was about to become much less forgiving. We headed back through Grunty's lair, found the next world painting, opened the next level door, and entered Gobi's Valley. Gobi's Valley trades the snow for scorching sand, ancient pyramids, and time challenges. The world is filled with puzzles. We matched tiles inside the pyramid, explored King Sandybutt's maze, flew through ancient rings, and repeatedly bothered a camel named Gobi. I'm starting to understand why he eventually leaves. King Sandybutt's maze was one of the biggest tests in the level. The timer begins, the walls are filled with traps, and every wrong turn brings you closer to being locked inside. After several close calls, we escaped with the Jiggy and continued clearing the desert. Gobi's Valley felt like the point where the game began combining exploration and more demanding execution. The puzzles were more involved, the timers were less forgiving, and the world required nearly every move we had learned. Eventually, the desert was complete. We collected all 10 Jiggies, all 100 musical notes, reunited the 5 Jinjos, found the 2 extra honeycomb pieces, hit the witch switch, and cleared Gobi's Valley. But after escaping the tombs, we had to enter a level even darker. We returned to Grunty's lair, found the next world's painting, unlocked the next level, and entered Mad Monster Mansion. Mad Monster Mansion may be one of the greatest Halloween levels in gaming. It's spooky without taking itself too seriously, and almost every room feels like a miniature puzzle. We explored the mansion, searched through the church, climbed across the roof, visited the graveyard, and carefully avoided waking the giant ghost guarding his Jiggy. Then Mumbo transformed us into a pumpkin. This is still one of the funniest transformations in the game. We're no longer a bear and bird exploring a haunted property, or a pumpkin being flushed through a toilet. Video games absolutely peaked here. The transformation also allowed us to squeeze through small openings and discover parts of the mansion that were previously inaccessible. Mad Monster Mansion constantly rewards curiosity. A drain pipe, broken window, cellar door, or suspicious floorboard can lead to another secret. We eventually collected all 10 Jiggies, all 100 musical notes, found the 5 Jinjos, collected the 2 extra honeycomb pieces, hit the witch switch, and cleared everything the mansion had to offer. At that point, 8 worlds stood behind us. Only 2 major challenges remained. One was the most ambitious world in the game. The other was a world I was dreading the most. And unfortunately, that had to come first. So we located the next painting, opened the next world, and found our way to Rusty Bucket Bay. Here it is, the level that I was dreading the most. Rusty Bucket Bay has a reputation, and it earned every bit of it. The water damages you, the platforms are narrow, the ship is filled with hazards, and almost every mistake costs significantly more time than it should. Even small enemies become dangerous because getting knocked into the oily water can turn one bad hit into an entire failed attempt. But none of that compares to the engine room, the dreaded engine room. Inside the ship, we had to navigate spinning machinery, moving platforms, and giant propeller shafts hanging above a bottomless pit. Then came the time propeller Jiggy. To collect it, you need to hit 2 switches inside the engine room, escape the ship, dive into the water, and swim through the propellers before the timer expires. One wrong jump means failure. One bad camera angle means failure. One slightly delayed swim means failure. That may have been the most satisfying Jiggy in the entire run. After cleaning up all 10 Jiggies, the remaining 100 notes, all 5 Jinjos, finding the 2 extra honeycomb pieces, hitting the witch switch, Rusty Bucket Bay was officially complete. The hardest part of the run was officially over. At least, that's what I told myself. Because one final world was waiting at the top of the layer. We made our way to the top of the layer, hit a button to activate the painting on the lower levels, made our way back down, activated the painting, unlocked, and headed into our next level. Click Clock Wood. Click Clock Wood is Banjo-Kazooie's most ambitious world. Instead of exploring one version of the level, we visit it during 4 different seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. The overall layout remains familiar, but the environment, characters, pathways, and available challenges change as time passes. Actions taken in one season can affect what happens later. We planted a seed in spring, helped it grow through summer and autumn, and finally reached the results of that work. We watched Erie's story unfold, entered different parts of the giant tree, and climbed higher as the seasons changed. Click Clock Wood also demanded one of the most careful platforming in the game. One bad fall from near the top could erase several minutes of progress. But unlike Rusty Bucket Bay, the frustration here was balanced by how creative the world felt. Click Clock Wood represents almost everything Banjo-Kazooie does well. Memorable characters, strong atmosphere, rewarding exploration, great music, and a world built around an idea that feels original. By the time winter was complete, we had collected all 10 Jiggies, all 100 musical notes, rescued every Jinjo, found the empty honeycomb pieces, hit the witch switch, and now officially finished every main world. But the game wasn't over. Gruntilda still had Tootie, and before we could face her, she had one final game to play. Instead of taking us directly into the boss fight, Banjo-Kazooie forces us onto a giant game board hosted by Grunty herself. This is one of the coolest elements ever added to a game in my opinion. Grunty's Furnace Fund tests how much you've been paying attention throughout the adventure. Some spaces ask questions about the game. Others test your knowledge of sounds, characters, and locations. And some questions are based on personal information about Gruntilda that her sister Brentilda reveals throughout the layer. For once, talking to Grunty's sister was actually important. After surviving the quiz and reaching the end, we rescued Tootie. Technically, our original mission was complete. The game even began celebrating. But there was one problem. Grunty escaped. We made our way to the highest room before the roof of the lair. We officially had all 100 Jiggies, all 900 notes, all the extra honeycomb pieces, which turned out to be rewarding because we could unlock additional doors to fully refill on red feathers, gold feathers, eggs, and even unlock double health for Banjo and Kazooie. Without further ado, her pot sidekick shot us to the roof of the lair for one final battle. The final Grunty fight is exactly what a Nintendo 64 finale should be. It uses nearly everything we learned throughout the game: dodging, egg shooting, flight, precise movement, and knowing when not to let Kazooie insult the enemy. Grunty attacks from her broomstick while firing spells across the arena. In the next phases, we returned fire with eggs, took to the sky, and eventually summoned the Jinjonator with the help of the Jinjos we had rescued. This final battle feels like a reward for completing the entire journey. The moves we learned, characters we helped, and collectibles we gathered all contributed to the ending. After one final attack, the Jinjonator launched Grunty from the tower. She fell into the ground below. An enormous boulder trapped her underneath. Gruntilda was defeated. Tootie was safe, and Banjo-Kazooie was officially 100% complete. All 100 Jiggies, all 900 notes, every Jinjo rescued, all extra honeycomb pieces, every main world cleared, and one evil witch buried underneath a rock. With Banjo-Kazooie now 100% complete, let's head into the vault and look at my 2 sealed copies. This first sealed copy is graded VGA 90 and considered a first print. How do you tell? If you look at the rumble direction on the front of the box, you can see it's right facing, which indicates an earlier first print copy. For a game this beloved, finding an unopened copy in strong condition is increasingly difficult. Most copies were purchased to be played, and that's exactly what just happened. This is what makes a surviving sealed copy so special. It's preserving art and history. This second sealed copy I have is graded VGA 85+. This is considered a later print of the game. If you look at the rumble pack direction on the front of the box, it's left facing. These are two of my favorite pieces in my collection because it's my favorite game in the N64 library. It's one of the games that helped define the Nintendo 64. Playing the game allows us to experience that art and history, and preserving these copies allows us to protect a piece of both. And bringing both sides together, playing the game and then examining the collectible, is exactly why I created this series. Games are meant to be played, but their history is also worth preserving, and I stand by that. So, after collecting all 100 Jiggies and fully completing Banjo-Kazooie, does the game still deserve the hype? Absolutely. Not everything is aged perfectly. The camera can fight against you. Some swimming sections are frustrating, and Rusty Bucket Bay is still Rusty Bucket Bay. But the creativity, personality, soundtrack, and world design remain special. Mumbo's Mountain teaches you the formula. Treasure Trove Cove opens the adventure. Freezeezy Peak delivers pure nostalgia. Mad Monster Mansion rewards curiosity. Rusty Bucket Bay tests your patience, and Click Clock Wood brings everything together. Banjo-Kazooie isn't remembered simply because people played it as kids. It's remembered because Rare created one of the most charming and inventive 3D platformers of its generation. Was collecting everything worth it? Absolutely. But now, I want to know what you think. Which world is harder, Rusty Bucket Bay or Click Clock Wood? Let me know down below. And if you made it this far, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and join us as we continue playing and preserving some of the greatest games on the Nintendo 64. And if you enjoyed this 100% completion, be sure to check out the next video on screen. Thanks again for watching the 64 Hoarder channel, and I'll see you back in the 64 Lounge.